You can always feel when something's off, even if no one says it out loud. That's how it had been between me and Mark, for months. He barely looked me in the eye. Our conversations became clipped, mechanical. I'd ask how work was, he'd grunt. No more goodnight kisses, no laughter in the kitchen, just this wall of silence between us. And the worst part? I started to wonder if I was the only one who noticed, but I wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. I still remembered the man who used to reach for my hand under the dinner table and make me laugh mid-chew. So I decided to do something. Something simple, something warm. A big family lunch. My family, his family, and of course, Anna, my sister. Maybe if we all came together again, we could soften whatever had hardened between us. And to my surprise, he offered to help. There we were, chopping onions side by side, joking about how terrible he was at slicing tomatoes. For the first time in weeks, I saw a glimpse of us again, of before. And in that moment, standing by the sink, his hands smelling of garlic and mine covered in herbs, I thought, maybe we were finding our way back. I went all in, pulled out the good tablecloth, ironed the napkins, even made his favorite roast, the one his mom always said I nailed better than she ever could. I wanted everything to be perfect. Not for show, but because I needed it to feel real. Like love could still live in the little details. Like maybe, just maybe, this lunch could be the start of something better. The kitchen was alive with sounds and smells. Rosemary crackling in the oven, the sharp tap of knives against the cutting board. For a moment, it felt like old times. I caught myself smiling without forcing it. He handed me a spoon to taste the sauce, and our fingers brushed. I froze, not because of him, but because I missed that feeling so much it almost hurt. Anna arrived early, of course. She always does. She breezed in with her usual, "let me help," energy and a bottle of wine I didn't ask for. I smiled, said thank you, handed her a dish towel. As we prepped side by side, I kept stealing glances at Mark, trying to hold on to that flicker of hope. I didn't realize it at the time, but I should have paid closer attention to the way she kept looking at him, too. As we all moved around the kitchen, passing bowls, seasoning dishes, there was this rare rhythm, like a dance we hadn't done in years. Mark even playfully bumped my hip at one point, and I laughed out loud. It wasn't forced. It felt natural. I could see my parents smiling from the living room, and Anna was humming as she folded napkins. For once, I thought, maybe this really is working. He leaned over to whisper something about how proud he was of the spread. I held on to that moment. Tucked it away like a keepsake, because when someone you love starts slipping away, you'll cling to any scrap of closeness, even if it's fleeting. I told myself not to overthink it, not to read into the softness in his eyes. But the truth, I wanted so badly to believe it meant something. Then he stepped away to set the table, and I stayed behind, finishing up the last few trays. I could hear his footsteps down the hallway, light and unbothered. The house was filled with warmth, the clinking of glasses, the scent of fresh bread, my sister's laugh from the dining room. And yet, something began to stir in my chest, a faint discomfort, like the kind you feel right before a storm, even when the sky looks blue. I was alone in the kitchen now, smoothing out the tops of the casseroles, brushing melted butter over the bread. My hands moved automatically, but my mind was still back in that moment, him whispering to me, smiling like he used to. Maybe we were healing. Maybe this lunch would change everything. That little hope was still glowing, even as I reached for the folded napkins next to his phone. It buzzed. Once, then again. Just sitting there on the counter, face up, like an open door. I told myself not to look, that I wasn't that kind of wife. But when I saw the name flash across the screen, Anna, my heart clenched. Not in anger, not yet, just confusion. Why would she be texting him during lunch prep? She was 10 feet away, laughing in the next room. Curiosity got the best of me, or maybe it was instinct. I wiped my hands on a towel and picked it up. One swipe, that's all it took. And in an instant, everything, the roast, the laughter, the hope, collapsed. The screen filled with messages I wasn't meant to see. Flirty, intimate. Familiar. My eyes scanned one after the other, barely able to keep up with the crashing in my chest. I read her words, each one carving a deeper gash. I can't stop thinking about the last time. My throat tightened, my vision blurred. My own sister. My blood. It didn't even sound like guilt, just desire. Like I was some minor inconvenience standing between them and whatever this thing was. And the worst part? He responded. Not once did he stop her. Not once did he say no. The most recent message sat right there, glowing in front of me like a slap I never saw coming. I hope I can pull you into an empty room today. Just a few kisses. I need it. I nearly dropped the phone. My fingers shook, my stomach twisted. The room felt smaller somehow. I pressed a hand to my chest, trying to steady the rise and fall. I could hear them out there, laughing, talking, living, like my world hadn't just imploded. I wanted to scream, to break something, to burst into that dining room and expose them both. But I didn't. I stood there, still as stone, and let the heat rise in me. Rage, betrayal, sadness so sharp it burned. But over all of it, something colder began to settle in, a clarity I hadn't felt in weeks. If they were going to betray me under my roof, during my lunch, then they'd both learn what it means to be exposed in plain sight. I wiped my face quickly. No time for smudged mascara or trembling lips. I had guests to greet, plates to carry, smiles to wear. And so I did. I tucked every feeling, every scream, every tear, every broken piece of my heart behind a practiced expression. I looked in the mirror above the sink, forced a breath, and told myself, "You can cry later. Right now you serve." I stepped out of the kitchen with the bread basket in my hands and a smile so sweet it nearly made me gag. I kissed my father's cheek. I complimented my mother-in-law's earrings. I laughed at a joke from my brother-in-law I didn't even hear. And when I glanced at Anna and Mark sitting side by side at the table, I didn't flinch. Not even a blink. Let them think I didn't know. Because the thing is, I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to break down in front of anyone. I was going to serve my lunch. I was going to toast to family. And then I was going to turn their little secret into the main course. After all, revenge is best served exactly where they thought they were safe, in the middle of my home, at my table, with everyone watching. The doorbell rang, and I slipped into hostess mode like a well-fitted glove. One by one, our guests arrived, smiling, arms full of flowers, wine, and that familiar family energy that always fills a house with noise and warmth. No one knew the storm quietly brewing behind my eyes. I hugged my father-in-law, complimented my niece's new haircut, and offered appetizers like I had nothing to hide. I was the picture of grace, and I hated every second of it. Then came Anna. She walked in like nothing had happened, like she hadn't texted my husband while helping me slice lemons less than an hour ago. She kissed my cheek, handed me a bottle of red, and said, "This looks amazing, Di." I smiled back. "Thank you," I said softly. My voice didn't even crack. That was my power now, keeping still, letting her dig her own grave with every fake compliment and borrowed charm. I caught Mark watching us, nervous maybe, or trying to read my expression, but I didn't give him anything, just a light laugh, a gentle hand on his arm. We all moved toward the dining room like any happy family would, clinking glasses, scooting chairs, passing dishes. If they only knew what I was about to serve, not just food, not just dessert. I was going to serve the truth, and no one was leaving hungry. The table was full, the air buzzing with chatter and clinking silverware. I moved between guests like I always did, refilling drinks, laughing at old stories, making sure everyone felt taken care of. It was almost surreal, how normal everything seemed. And yet, right beneath the surface, I could feel it. The weight of betrayal perched just behind my smile. My heart beat steady now, not with panic, with purpose. Anna sat across from me, chatting with my mother like she hadn't tried to kiss my husband that very day. And Mark? He played the attentive husband, even reaching for my hand under the table at one point. I let him. Let him think I was still his, still blind, still forgiving. It made what I was about to do even sweeter, because sometimes silence is louder than screaming. And kindness? It cuts deeper when it's masking a blade. I stood slowly, holding my wine glass. Conversations died down as heads turned toward me. My heart didn't race. It settled. This wasn't fear. This was clarity. The kind you only feel when you've been pushed to the edge and decide not to fall. I smiled at them all. My family, his family, and her, my sister. And then I raised my glass. To family, I began, my voice clear, steady, even warm. To the people we cook for, laugh with, lean on when things get hard. I paused, looking around the table. And sometimes to the ones we catch texting our husbands behind our backs. Silence, instant, complete. Forks froze mid-air, smiles vanished. Anna's eyes darted to mine, and I held her gaze, unwavering, cold, done. I walked around the table slowly, calmly, like I had all the time in the world. Mark looked confused, then afraid. I reached into my apron and pulled out his phone, still open, still glowing. I placed it gently in front of Anna. A single tap of my finger lit the screen again. There it was. The last message. So, will we get our moment? A collective breath was held. No one moved. You could have heard a pin drop. My father blinked like he'd just woken from a dream. My mother-in-law gasped audibly. Anna sat there frozen, one hand still on her wine glass, like if she didn't move, this wouldn't be real. But it was real, and I wasn't going to protect anyone from the truth anymore. I just stood there, watching the house I built, the family I fed, crack open, exactly the way they cracked me. Anna's face drained of color. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She looked at me, then at Mark, then back at the phone, like it might vanish if she blinked hard enough. Mark stammered, something about it being a joke, a misunderstanding. His voice cracked. My mother put a hand over her mouth. My father looked away, ashamed, but I didn't flinch. I didn't speak. I just watched them squirm under the truth I'd served without saying dessert was ready. Anna tried to stand, but my mother grabbed her arm. "What is this?" she hissed, her voice low but sharp enough to cut through the air. Anna shrank back in her seat. Mark reached for me, pathetic and panicked. Can we talk in private?" he asked. Like privacy was still something he had the right to ask for. I shook my head once. That was my only answer. He wasn't getting my tears. Not today. Instead, I turned to him. "You don't need to sneak around anymore," I said. Calm, clear, like I was reading off a recipe. "You two can be together now. I'm done with both of you." I took off my wedding ring, the only piece of me I still owed him, and I placed it on the table, gently, deliberately, right between their empty plates, like the last course in a meal neither of them deserved. The ring sat there like a bomb no one knew how to touch. Anna's hands trembled in her lap. Mark looked like a man who'd been caught naked in front of a crowd, exposed, embarrassed, scrambling for a story that didn't exist. My sister tried to speak, but no one wanted to hear it. Not my parents, not his family, and certainly not me. Every word she could say had already been sent, in texts she never expected me to read. Voices rose, my mother yelling at Anna in half-whispers, his mother shaking her head in disbelief, muttering, "I can't believe this, not at the table." And I just stood there, watching the whole thing unravel, calmly, silently, powerfully. For once, they were the ones lost in the noise. And I had never been so clear. I wasn't walking out broken. I was walking out whole, because they no longer had a single piece of me. I took one last look around the room. The plates were half eaten, the glasses still half full, the illusion of family shattered somewhere between the roast and the red wine. I didn't owe anyone anything anymore. Not explanations, not forgiveness, not a fake smile. I walked to the door, opened it, and stepped out into the light, the sound of voices still rising behind me, but I didn't turn back. The air outside hit me like a wave, crisp, honest, and real. Not like the one inside, thick with lies and whispers. I stood on the porch for a moment, my hands empty, my heart still pounding, but not from fear, from release. From that strange mix of sorrow and relief that comes when the truth finally breathes. I didn't cry, I didn't shake, I just inhaled deeply and let the chill remind me I survived it. Behind me, I could still hear the voices, Anna's pleading, Mark's useless justifications, my mother trying to hold herself together. But none of it touched me anymore. That door was closed now. Figuratively, literally. And maybe one day they'd all sit at another table and pretend none of this ever happened. But I wouldn't be there. I'd stopped pretending. I'd stopped shrinking myself just to keep the peace. I walked down the steps, each one steadier than the last. No suitcase, no packed bag. Just me, leaving behind the version of myself who kept hoping, forgiving, waiting. She deserved better, and I was finally ready to become the woman who would give it to her. There was no final word, no dramatic slam of the door, just silence. And the quiet, undeniable sound of freedom taking its first real breath. My new apartment isn't big, but it's mine. The walls are bare in some corners, the rug curls up on one end, and I still haven't figured out how to fix the leaky faucet in the bathroom. But every imperfection feels honest. Every room holds only what I choose to keep. No echoes of lies, no silent treatments. Just the hum of the kettle, the scent of lavender from a candle I bought on impulse, and space. Beautiful, uninterrupted space. It's strange how fast people show you who they are after something like this. Some distance themselves. Too uncomfortable, too unsure of what to say. But others surprised me. Mark's sister sent me flowers. His father called and said, "I don't blame you." Even my cousin, who barely speaks at family gatherings, messaged me just to say, "I saw the whole thing. You were incredible." Little signs that I wasn't alone, that maybe I never really had been. Anna and Mark, they've gone quiet. I hear they're trying to explain it all away. Blame stress, blame confusion. But no one's really buying it. Not anymore. They can play whatever version of the story they need to. I don't care. I'm not part of that story now. I'm not the woman waiting for apologies. I'm the one setting a new table, for new people, in a home where I finally feel safe. Last Sunday, I hosted my first lunch here. Just a handful of people. No drama, no secrets. My two closest friends, a couple of cousins, and my neighbor who helped me carry my couch upstairs. We sat at a mismatched table with borrowed chairs, passing bowls and laughing over spilled wine. Nothing fancy, nothing forced, just real conversation, real connection. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't performing. I was just me. Someone brought up Mark, gently, like a fragile subject you don't want to shatter. I waved it off with a smile, not because it didn't hurt. It did. Sometimes it still does. But pain doesn't get to own the whole story. I said, "That chapter's closed," and meant it. And then we went back to talking about weekend markets and air fryer recipes. Because that's how healing works. Not in grand speeches, but in tiny moments of moving forward. As I cleared the plates, one of my friends leaned against the counter watching me. "It's funny," she said. "This time last month, your life exploded." I looked at her, hands deep in soapy water, and felt the warmth of the room behind me. And I said, "It didn't explode. It reset." She nodded, smiling, because she understood. Sometimes destruction isn't the end. It's the invitation to build something better. These days, I wake up without dread in my chest. I open the windows, let the sunlight spill in, and sip my coffee slowly. No more racing to please, no more shrinking to fit someone else's version of me. I keep fresh flowers on the kitchen counter now. I light candles even when no one's visiting. I play old records while I clean. Not because anyone's watching, but because it makes me feel good. Peace isn't loud, it's steady, and I earned every bit of it. I still think about what happened, not with regret, but with understanding. That version of me, the one who held on too long, who ignored the red flags, who hoped harder than she protected herself, she was doing her best, and I love her for that. But I also love the woman I've become, the one who walked out, the one who chose truth over comfort, the one who now knows love should never come at the cost of your dignity. So I keep building, new routines, new friendships, new dreams, nothing rushed, nothing for show, just a life that fits me now. And maybe one day I'll fall in love again, or maybe I won't, but either way, I'm full, because I sat at a table that betrayed me, and then I built my own, one that only seats those who deserve a place.